We're back on CentralValleyTalk.com. I'm Mike Scott. So glad you're with us on this Wednesday, 7th of January. Is that what it is? Yeah. Well, I had to check your watch, didn't you?
Me too.
George Ordway is here from Communities, Inc., and they have a big event coming up in February, which we'll talk about in a moment. But first, what is Communities, Inc., George?
Well, Communities, Inc. came out of these three issues that are in our valley. Number one, we have the largest ag base in the globe, 20 billion a year.
We feed the world.
We feed the world. Number two, we have the largest amount of people in poverty in the United States of America in that same 8 counties. Over 400,000 people are living below the national poverty level. There's a roving workforce, as we know, that relates to the ag. But that's been happening for generations now.
Right.
Okay, so number three is we have the largest amount of churches per capita of anywhere in California. There's 1,400 Christian churches in those 8 counties. So when you fly over the valley and you see the patchwork of our Central Valley, look at those three distinctions and say, how do those operate together? How can those function together? How can we create better communities by crossing these lines of both ag, affluence, the poverty issues, dealing with systemic issues, and then how do we deal with the human resource of loving your neighbor as you love yourself? That's what we do. So we connect leaders to change lives.
Leaders of churches or
all kinds.
political leaders?
No, we've worked with everything from the counties to mayors to First Five is a really neat partner of ours that we've worked with for years. So we work on the secular and the sacred both. We believe ultimately to meet the need, whether it's through a food distribution or it's through coats, diapers, whatever it is, our organization is after that heart transformation, and that's our ultimate goal. But we recognize the issues of people and respect their faiths.
There's a lot of nonprofits out there that are working with the poor. What's different about? Is there a niche you're trying to fill, or?
Yeah, I think working with the poor is dealing with needs a lot of the times. It's like need based, right? And so doing this for 15 years, you can always recognize feeding, clothing, helping, budget. There's a need base. There's an old saying that says, we're going to try to pull as many out of the river as we can, but who's going to walk up the river and find out who's throwing them in? Okay? So what we do is we go after systems and structures. We try to find out what is keeping people in this poverty mindset, whether it's a lack of resources, a lack of just job skills, soft job training, whatever. Usually it's a lack of leaders working in conjunction with each other to affect a community. There's a void many times between the public sector, the private sector, and the social sector. There's usually gaps in there. So we go walk across these gaps and ask, how can we do collective impacts? How can we go upstream, find out what's creating and harboring these issues, and make changes that way? An example, First Five partnered with us because we have this network of over 50 cities that we work in throughout the valley. And they said, how could we work to give you resources to activate this relational network that you have? How can we go upstream a bit? We said, well, let's talk about some ideas. First, we have to meet the felt needs, okay? We have the largest, children are at the most at risk of any of those groups, and the entire group, I mean, they are the ones paying for it. They don't have river parks in Huron. They don't have the street lights in Delft. They don't have in Traver, New London, these towns. They don't have these kinds of services that we are accustomed to and normal, right? So we said, okay, well, let's go in there and find out how do we take people that are inside these areas, these pockets of poverty, these communities, rural mostly, and how do we bring the leaders together? So our organization, pulled together 42 organizations, mostly churches, but other organizations too. We pulled them together, and we went to First Five and said, if you give us $200,000 a year of coats and diapers and food and pajamas, we'll distribute them through these 42 organizations that'll cover 14 different cities. But what we're going to do is we're going to make it a voucher system so that every single person that wants to activate this need-based felt need, meaning a felt need, will actually have a voucher, and they will be connected to a social service program. They'll be connected to a resource, a relationship, Celebrate Recovery, whatever it might be that would bring the support, the relational support around them to try to get them out of the stream of poverty. So we design the systems that deliver those kinds of felt needs, but we really are going after how do we connect the programs and services that these organizations have and expand them in a larger and more profound way. So now, 5 years later, we're completing our 6th year. It's the next month is our 6th year of this. There again, 42 organizations have stayed together for over these 6 years, and we have released $1 million into 42 organizations through them into what will end up being around 49,000 children, 0 to 5. So you can't, it's called collective impact, Mike. We can't do these things, we can't take on these large issues by ourselves. I mean, no government agency, no funding can do that. We're going to have a grassroots community concern, and we're going to have to address these issues with social issues, with solutions. Okay, so that's one. We have others we've done, and they're not all as grandiose as $1 million, obviously. But we are the people that want to see social entrepreneurism. We want to come in and create new things that will actually address the needs, but not leave people in that repetitive entitlement kind of impoverished mindset.
Yeah.
It's really a mindset. It really is. It's unfortunate. And I could speak to it because my grandmother, I stood in a welfare line with my grandmother when I was a kid. I mean, there was a part of my family that we understood that. So I'm not looking down on anyone. But I think if we go down and capture the felt need, which it earns the right, we can begin to change some of the dignity issues and some of the struggles that these people are having. So we've now, many years later, saw 6 initiatives, 6 of these kinds of things. The one that I use an example is called Bringing Accessible Supplies into the Community. We've seen 6 of these emerge, and now they're teams of people. They have traction. They've been doing this for many years. So I'll leave that with that. But that's the idea. Let's don't try to just meet a need, which is maybe the first step. Let's go upstream and find out what's causing some of these issues and try to deal with that. So I find business people are interested in that kind of solution-based. I find people that in the nonprofit ministry or in the nonprofit world are very interested in creativity and how do we do this better. They want to deliver services. That's what the nonprofit world wants to do. The business world wants solutions. And the most of the time, unfortunately, the private or the public sector is really kind of in a maintenance mode. They tend to do the same thing the same way. So our local governments try as hard as they can, are really encumbered with doing the same thing the same way. So we bring creative ideas to these 3 groups and say, how can we bring it together and affect people's lives? That's kind of what Community Inc. does in a long way. That's a long way.
Yeah. That was a long answer, but it was.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I can tell you like talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, this event you have coming up on February the 11th.
Yes.
Which is a Wednesday. What's that all about?
City Advance is taking it to a different step, a different level. Again, collecting and convening in these leaders that I've just talked about for the last few minutes is one thing. Actually sewing into their leadership ability to how to do these things. How do you come together in a citywide leadership level? We started, I was very honored to be a part of an organization called City Advance that we started with 3 of us. It happened in New York now the last 4 years, and so we've had leaders from all over the world come for a 2-day, very intensive practitioner-based type leadership learning. And it's all around how would you connect these dots? How would you take business people along with maybe ministry or nonprofit people, and how would you have local governments, and how would you bring these sectors, these spheres together in order to create these wide area solutions. So we've now done this long enough to be able to actually help others to learn how to do it. So this will be the first time it's ever happened outside of New York, and it's going to happen in Fresno, California. And so that's exciting. We'll have people from all over the world coming to teach it and to instruct it. What's fun about City Advance is this, and it's adult learning. We're not lecturing, even though you hear me talking all this much. We're not lecturers. We give a working model, like I just did to you a moment ago, about maybe basic children reaching, and then we actually give it to tables of people, and they begin to workshop. How would that contextually fit inside Sacramento, San Diego, the Bay Area? How would we do these kinds of things? So we're not trying to train you with what we think is the only way to do it. We just pull working models out of different regions of California and use those as teaching discussions. So 50% of City Advance is about you hearing about something. The other 50% is about you workshopping it and you working it out in what your context is. So it's a training, equipping, and connecting type of an endeavor. It's the first one. It'll be exciting to see how it's responded to. Fresno's got a lot of history in this area. We've got a lot of, ironically, Fresno has a lot of history in doing collaborative networking. Amazing. When you go to different places across the country, it's a uniqueness that we have. And I think it might be partially because of those systemic issues.
Okay. Well, we're about a month away from this. I'm assuming you want to know ahead of time how many people are coming and when should people sign up by?
They can go online right now. You can go on and become a sponsor. If you'd like to sponsor, you can go on and just register for it. It's posted on cityadvance.net. You can actually look at the entire 3-day offering. So you can see breakouts, you can see the objectives. We have an objective under each one of the sessions and the breakouts. We're going to have over 30 different leaders from across California, many, of course, from Fresno. The Fresno flavor and the Fresno favor is very, very predominant in this. But no, it's very, we'll have about 12 different cities from California: Sacramento, Modesto, Bakersfield, LA. Some people from LA are coming. So yeah, it's 5 weeks away. We're excited about it.
All right. Well, that's City Advanced. What about Communities Inc.? If people want information about that, where can they go?
Yeah. When I leave here, we're going to push the button to turn our brand new website live. We've been working on it for 4 months, so you can go to www.communitiesinc.org, and you can look at there and peruse into the 6 initiatives, loaded with videos and resources and actual online. You can check any of the 75 cities that we have contacts with. You can go online, pull that down, and say, oh, what's going on in Huron, or what's happening over here. So we've created a portal through our website to look at the Valley and its uniquenesses, and that's what we're about. Our organization isn't trying to become a bigger, better, badder organization. We don't believe, as I said earlier, that we have the answer to everything. We actually are the people that go find the resources and connect them together. So when you look at our website, you're probably going to go, oh, okay, well, these are the components, but how do they work in my world as a business person, or in my world maybe as a pastor? So that's what we do. We're facilitating and trying to build relationships.
All right. George, thank you for coming in today.
Mike, it's been great to talk with you. Thanks so much.
George Ordway from Communities Inc.
Thank you so much.
And again, the big event coming up on February the 11th. All the details on the website. All right.
Thanks a lot.
We'll be back with more on Central Valley Talk.